Welcome to another episode of Insurance Unlimited, a limited series podcast. It's sponsored by the lovely team at Endava. Today, we're going to jump into the wonderful world of distribution, and we're going to be talking about how AI may or may not be enhancing distribution capabilities of insurers. I'm really, really pleased that Andy Jaworski has joined me. Andy, you're the AVP at Pacific Life of Technology and a consultant at Endava. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Paul. Good afternoon. I appreciate being here. Very excited to connect with you and have a dialogue around distribution and AI.
So I'm going to hit you up with the question I ask everybody on the podcast, Andy. So I'm assuming you didn't choose to go into insurance. I assume you fell into insurance. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. So back in the 2000s, I was working at a telco. And for those who remember the 2000s, the internet boom and bust. And just so happened that an individual he and I had the same supervisor, one John Heverin,
Okay.
landed at Liberty Mutual as CIO over agency markets. He gave me a call. And I decided, maybe after this internet boom bust thing, being somewhere a little more stable was a good thing. So, yep, he maneuvered me in, and I've been in financial services insurance for the last 15 years. It's been great.
Wow. Fantastic, fantastic. I do like these stories. It's amazing. Sometimes you hear how people come in. I was talking to someone earlier today, and he was a motor mechanic and ended up working for a motor insurer, and is now a head of product owner for a data analytics team for a Lloyd's London syndicate. So that's a very strange
Fantastic.
entry, but very good. Andy, we're going to talk today about distribution. My background of distribution is from the sort of specialist commercial market, the Lloyd's market, but also sort of that nirvana of trying to enter into the US market with SME products, where it's obviously a pretty saturated space. And I want to talk a little bit about AI and where we potentially see some of the uses for that in the distribution channel, or do we think it's a bit of noise? And my first question to you is, do you think that AI opens up opportunities in insurance when considering distribution?
Absolutely. Tons and tons of opportunities. I've been, so over the last 15 years, I've had the pleasure to support distribution partners in a couple different companies, actually, Liberty Mutual Agency Markets, Personal Commercial, and Surety. And then at USAA, supported the agency market over at USAA. So familiar with the space. And I think some of the struggles can be supported with AIs. For example, lead management, segmentation, lead scoring. We've traditionally relied on interesting and creative ways to do that. I think
Yeah.
AI, even given its ability to really parse through vast amount of data, can help support identifying and better targeting those leads. Also, as products in the market and products within the carrier tend to change, it's hard to stay up to date sometimes. So I
Yeah.
can also see a place where AI-based recommendation engines can support both sides of the house, right? On the carrier side with education and sales training, and then on the agency side with really the same. What's new that we're releasing, what's changed, and AI can just keep up with it a little quicker and write letters and or be interactive with product content. So yeah, I think there's tons of opportunity in the space to give distribution some lift with AI.
Yeah, you raise a really good point actually. When on my travels, when we were trying to sort of launch small SME products, and take super yacht brokers as an example, what we were hearing from the brokers is it's very difficult to get that knowledge, or at least retain that knowledge within the business, because these are experts. They've either worked for shipyards or they've insured super yachts all their lives, and there's a not enough talent coming through where that knowledge isn't getting transferred. And certainly in the Lloyd's market, I think that we've got some statistics that say something like 50% of our underwriting experts retire in the next 10 years, which is quite a fear, right? And I think at brokers,
Mhm.
it's probably the same. Do you see that as an issue, and do you think that AI can help there?
Absolutely. I mean, a couple different ways. I mean, one, trying to get new talent in the door, getting younger talent to participate,
Yeah.
as they're more familiar with digital tools. So supporting them with some digital capabilities, say AI chatbot over your product or product set, or again, an AI recommendation engine. I think just naturally help helps them as they're more tech savvy and probably less willing to read and understand than some of the aging crew that's out there. So yeah, absolutely. And then even on the current side, again, just I think lead generation, um staying on top of the news, doing research on customers. I mean, all of those are great avenues where AI can help.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw a fantastic demo at one of the clever people at Endava had put together last week, and it was an agent. They'd recorded a telephone call between an agent and somebody who actually in this instance it was a claim scenario, and they were ringing up to say that there'd been an incident, and actually what the AI was doing was listening to the call, and it was populating the claim system with the data, the address, the location, whilst they were talking. And what struck me the most was it enabled the agent to show more empathy because they weren't concentrating on what they were writing. They weren't concentrating on getting the data correct in the system. They were actually able to concentrate on the claimant. And
Mm,
in times of distress, empathy is what people want. And I thought that was an
mm.
amazing use case for it.
Yeah, and I think that's truly amazing. And if we're a carrier who's trying to hire younger talent or um, trying to target younger producers, right? Imagine that enabling the producers with that type of capability on the desktop to see, potentially what their book looks like, potentially to help them target customers, potentially to help to be notified when one of their customers has a claim or an incident or a call, so that they're aware of the conversations. And where it used to be, I'd have to call in, talk to somebody to find out what's going on. AI can, in essence, stay on top of a lot more activity and then easily summarize to get a note out, or put in again into a chat, into a dashboard, like you say. All of that is possible.
Yeah, and I think you touched on it earlier. Also, the targeting of businesses, so building out personas of businesses, target markets, what's our particular segment we might be interested in. I've been using it recently in that case for a broker in London, and it's fantastic. I think years ago these things would have taken us months to bring together, and actually we was
Right.
able to isolate certain segments of the market, let's say florists in Manhattan or whatever it was we were going for. It was
Mhm.
um it was an eye opener because it allowed us to just be very specific, which yeah,
Mhm.
sometimes it's just too broad, the target.
Right. Right, right. No, I agree. And there are all sorts of new kind of web apps coming out there. I just recently stumbled upon one that I've been using, Tavily, Tavily.com, and it's a research assistant. So to your point, right, I want to research a market, I want to research a company, I want to research what have you. You can go to their website, kick off a research assistant, creates a document with references that you can go off and look at. And then also came across a new website. Interestingly, I think it's agent.ai or agents.ai, where you can actually hire AI agents. And one of the key use cases is company research, right? So again, if you're a producer distributor, you want to target a small business, it's potentially hire a AI agent to support you and do the research to figure out who's who and what they've been up to lately. So yeah, I think there are lots of fantastic use cases.
Yeah, brilliant. I mean, I've just written both of those down. I'll definitely
Yeah.
be doing some research later. And in fact, I was just doing something 10 minutes ago where that would have saved me an awful lot of time. I could have sat back and had a cup of tea. Um,
Yeah, there's another one just to mention, beautiful.ai. Um, so I've been able to do research on pick a topic, do some research, take that content, go to beautiful.ai, and it'll make a presentation for you too. So again, if you're want to make a pitch deck, right? again, producer or a carrier making a pitch deck to a new broker, right? It's kind of easy enough to do now with a couple clicks.
You have to be careful. We're going to put us consultants out of business if we're not careful. So we touched on it earlier. Do you think there's a talent shortage when it comes to distribution?
Yeah, I think you called it out, right? There's a huge aging population in that mix who grew up with the business and who are of retirement age. So I think it's critical to get some of these digital type capabilities out there to be able to help attract newer newer agents to help understand the products, to help collaborate with each other. The newer generation is more used to collaborating with each other, so giving them collaboration tools or capabilities, kind of greater ability to reach in maybe to carriers. So yeah, I think you hit it, and it's how do we more digitally enable that younger generation of
Mm.
producers.
Interesting. It is interesting. It's definitely an issue. Yeah, we're seeing it all over the place, and unfortunately, insurance is still not sexy enough, right? We can't get enough people to come into it, and I can't believe it. I mean, I'm a massive fanboy of insurance. I absolutely love it as a career, and as I said, my daughter on previous podcasts, my daughter's come into it now. I'm trying to get my son into it as well. So, big advocate for it. But yeah, I think we need to do better at telling stories about what it is as a career. And
Mhm.
a producer job or a distribution role, it's actually quite an exciting role.
Mhm.
But I don't think enough people really understand what it entails. I think they just assume it's just hitting the phones all day.
Yeah, yeah, no, agree. And I mean, I've been in the space for 15 years on the tech side, and I've seen all sorts of changes in terms of product and distribution and market and kind of impact of economy on those things. And I do think that's partly what makes it exciting, right? Is the space actually changes quicker than it feels.
Yeah,
And under the hood, there's a lot more tech at play than others may see. Um, and then at the end of the day, right, it is about creating a safety net, for yourself, for your family, and ensuring that you have a legacy that goes on. So how to do that, and how to get that message across and attract that talent.
yeah, definitely. And one of the challenges I think leads us on to our next question, and this is something that sort of keeps me up at night a little bit because dealing with clients day in day out that have got the same problem, which is when considering distribution in a B2B world, what are
Mhm.
the differentiators that you think insurers should be thinking about?
Mhm. Mhm.
A good example is
Yeah,
just being easier to do business with.
yeah, yeah.
Anything any pearls of wisdom you can help us with?
I think so I think meeting the partner where they are, right, and how to do that at scale. So what, tends to be that the partners have tools on their desktops that they like to use because they aggregate and they integrate with multiple partners. So I think
Yeah.
meeting the partner where they are is paramount. How to do that at scale is the trick, right? From a carrier lens perspective, because meeting everyone's integration needs is tough. So having to be selective, and that may be an opportunity for AI as well, is how to leverage AI potentially to help with some of those integration
Yeah.
type challenges. But I think full stop carriers have to meet distribution partners where they are. What may be evolving is kind of with the advent of AI is, chat type capability, and also potentially easier to drop in from the distribution partner, whatever format, paper ticket, fully structured data, Cord format, whatever that is,
Yeah.
drop that into an agent to help parse and map, so to streamline it as much as possible for the distribution partners.
Yeah, it's really good. I mean, you almost recited a paper I wrote a number of years ago. The problem was at the time is we had to hand crank all of those integrations through. And I
Yes.
remember we went on a mission. This was a very large carrier, cyber carrier, we went on a mission to connect to every broker. And our challenge was that they weren't all ready, or they all had very different levels of maturity when it came to the APIs and the integrations.
Mhm.
And it was just a real headache on what you should prioritize and what you
Mhm.
shouldn't prioritize. And God, I would have loved to add an AI integration widget back then that I could just, go and speak to my
Yeah,
partner. Here's the
yeah,
connection. Off you go. But we ended up
yeah.
with a squad of 10 people probably doing it for us.
Yes, no, no, I agree. Same challenge. I remember way back Liberty Mutual Agency Markets days, dealing with the different agencies and trying to get to an accord format, which
Yeah.
wasn't standard in and of itself. And um, but again, I think the opportunity is emerging to leverage AI. So, there's some experimentation going on, some experimentation I'm doing where um, now there's this library, if you want to go down a rabbit hole, pedantic, and it allows you to describe data structure, to put a data structure, but it's not just the fields. Add a description to the field. What does this mean? DOB. Well, it's the date of birth, or
Yeah.
and um, by leveraging that library, you can hand that data structure off to an LLM and have it map unstructured content to that structure, because essentially you're trying to give the LLM or the agent context for what these fields are and what they mean, and so far have been um, happily surprised with how well the LLMs are able to
Wow.
parse and map content into those structures. Um, of course, where I'm experimenting, I'm working on going a lot deeper with more sophisticated structures to see where it falls apart. But it's emerging tech to enable data mapping, which is just a kind of a basic foundational capability.
Yeah, yeah, it's fantastic. You talked about chat interfaces earlier. Do you think there's a demographic shift in, or there's a buying habits difference in the sort of demographics that are coming through? So,
Yeah.
new business owner, tech media, entrepreneurs, are they buying insurance differently to how they did 10, 15 years ago?
Well, it's interesting. I think so. Meaning, would you go to ChatGPT to, as a buyer? And actually, I have someone who works for me who just did this. So, here's my real-time use case, who did financial planning with ChatGPT. So laid out his circumstances, his situation, what he's looking for, and then worked with ChatGPT as essentially as that recommendation assistant, to how to navigate his situation and his family situation to come up with a plan. So I
Wow.
do think, what's interesting, and how do you see it evolve, right? Having been through the whole smartphone era, right? And now you see that the current generation, well, I'm in my smartphone all day long too, right? So, you're in there. But where are the buyers going to, are they going to stay on those devices? Are they going to
Mm,
shift into ChatGPT? And then and that app marketplace is evolving, right? And the models are evolving there. So as a carrier, do you think about, hey, do I need to start putting apps out there? Because that's where the buyers are. So what's the shift? Is there a shift? And what do I need to have in that chat type context? Um, or NVIDIA just came out with or not NVIDIA, OpenAI real-time voice. That's kind of another one, right? So now
yeah.
these LLMs, you can just talk to them as opposed to typing with them. So when do we shift towards, I'm just going to talk to this thing to get what I need? Um, but there needs to be something custom from a carrier
Yeah.
or a distributor, because the LLM's trained on what it knows publicly, not necessarily in what your product mix are, how you're changing, and what your pricing strategy, any of that. So again, I think it's a kind of an emerging topic of how do carriers and distribution partners potentially meet the buyer where they're going to be or where they're shifting to.
Yeah, really interesting. A funny story. So obviously in the UK we've had aggregators as what we call them for many many years. So there's sort of five or six for auto and home, and you put your details in. You feel like you're putting your details in, but technically it's aggregated across 20, 30 different insurers. But when I bought insurance for my business earlier on last year, even though I've been in insurance for 20 years, I had questions, questions on coverage, questions on the legal aspects and what was covered. And I had to speak to a broker, and it's the first time I've spoken to a broker for many years. And it was a really, really enjoyable experience because actually I got all my fears alleviated. Now, I feel that a chat interface probably would have given me the same level of comfort, maybe. But I do feel hearing it from a human's voice to say, "Don't worry, you'll be covered,"
Right.
made me feel good. Ironically, the insurance was placed with my old company
Funny.
on paper that I designed as a
Oh,
technologist. So
how
yeah,
fun.
the risk was placed on an
Yeah.
e-trade system that I designed and built about 5 or 6 years ago. So,
Fantastic.
luckily I designed a good
Yeah.
user experience back then with my
Oh,
team.
that's
But yeah,
funny.
it was really
That's
funny.
funny. How
So
funny. How
we
funny. How funny.
very, very good. My kind of final question to you on this
Yes.
is, where do you think the biggest shift is going to be for brokers in the next sort of five? I mean, is 5 years too long out? That's a question.
I
Are we looking too far out now?
I think so. I think so. I think so. Well, I think the things that don't change, carrier to distribution partner, it's still going to be about the relationship, right?
Yeah,
But the business needs to move at a pace, right, to keep up with the consumer
yeah,
expectations, and that's what's going to change, right? We're getting Microsoft Copilot. When's the
yeah,
last time you actually took minutes? Right now, Copilot just records them. It's great,
yeah,
you know.
absolutely.
And so as the consumer expectations shift, just like they did through the smartphone era, which is still around, they're going to shift again. And then so the carriers and the distribution partners need to be ready to meet the consumer where they are, full stop. So what does
Yeah,
that mean? What does that look like? And I think likely it means the consumers will start digitally, right? The younger ones, especially, will start digitally, will try to learn, but then they're going to place a call. I don't think the humans are going away
yeah,
anytime soon. Um, but we need to be mindful of the shift and the shift of expectations. But how fast is it changing? I think that's a really interesting question. So, um, you know, OpenAI is releasing, ChatGPT 3.5 was amazing. Well, they released a reasoning model, O1, in September, I believe. They're releasing their next reasoning model at the end of this month, so this week or next week. And across all measures, it's outperforming humans.
oh
So,
wow,
so it's changing really fast.
yes,
And in fact, I think one of the benchmarks it was entertaining is from a coding perspective, O3, OpenAI's O3 outperforms the top 175 developers, or is in the top 175 developers on the planet. So anyway, it's changing fast. I think it's
yeah.
changing fast.
Yeah, makes me
Have
kind
to,
of happy. I'm nearer retirement
yes, right.
than my
Right. I
kids.
do. I do
My,
wonder how to train, how to teach the kids, how to teach the kid. What should I be thinking about, and how do I help them land?
yeah,
Right.
account management, large corporate risk account management broker or something like that was my son
Yeah.
when my son asked me the other day. And I started in technology as a business analyst and getting
Mm,
requirements out of people, but you can just see that will that be needed in the future?
right.
Will they be talking to a machine to explain their day jobs and it'll be automatically converted? It scares me, but it fascinates me at the same time. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, but yeah, you're right. I mean, I was asked this question the other day. Was a client of mine asked for a asked us to put together a 5 to 10 year technology roadmap, and the answer
Mm.
was no, impossible.
Right. Right.
It's
Impossible. I agree.
virtually
I agree.
impossible.
I agree. I agree. I
So
agree.
we a lot of conversation around AI. You're clearly sort of engaged and doing
Mhm.
your research. What's your number
Yeah.
one tip for other insurance people that are looking to understand sort of AI and its capabilities?
Mm. Well, I think get hands-on is probably the big one. There are frameworks that are emerging that will help um, you
Or
kind of realize or touch the potential. And in the recent CES, right, there's this kind of new thing, so ChatGPT, right? It's
yeah, or
question and it's a chat. It goes back and forth. What's evolving is this quote unquote agentic AI, which is, well, what if I find a pattern to these chats that I have, a la that Tavily.com website that does research? There's likely the same pattern of prompts. So how do I chain those things together to get repeatable results like research, like creating presentations, like, what have you? But there are the frameworks that are emerging that allow you to build your own. So build your own to say summarize your daily emails,
yeah,
or build your own to do trip planning, or build your own to, I don't know, find to figure out your meal plan for the week. ChatGPT just released a scheduled task where kind of every day you can have it give you something. I saw on Twitter X, Grok now you can, hey, something's happening in the market. You can just ask it now, hey,
wow,
what's the most recent stuff? It's Grok. You can see it at the bottom. What's going, like, why is Bitcoin ripping right now? So you can ask it and it gives you a result. But anyway, I would say find some of those frameworks. There are a couple out there. I think um, Flowwise, Langflow are ones that are kind of intuitive UI based low code type things. And there's some decent practice. So you can kind of play with it and then it'll help lead you to, oh yeah, I could see how this works for lead scoring. Oh yeah,
mm,
I could see how this works for kind of generating draft email, go through my inbox, prioritize the ones I need to respond to, create drafts. So
yeah, yeah.
you can kind of envision all the use cases once you see it and touch it.
Fantastic. Yeah, I think that's really, really good advice. I think personally, I've been talking to lots of different people to try and get different perspectives on case studies and use cases. But I think you're right, and I think on a previous podcast we said you just got to get involved, right?
Right.
Get your hands dirty, get in there, get
Right.
experimenting. It's not it's not expensive. It's not like it used to be. Some of these models you can get into for free. You can definitely get help. Endava is a great example of a business that will help you experiment around it, and they've been doing lots of really good work in the insurance. And you just got to ask and
Yeah.
reach out. So that's kind of our final parting shot. We're both here. You're definitely more of an expert than I, but I'd always be happy to talk to
Yeah.
people who are listening about what case studies we're seeing and how to run a safe
Right.
experiment. I think is what we're looking for. We've
Absolutely. Right.
got this strap line, which is I want to get to the end game without screwing up.
Right. Right. No, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Still need human in the loop. But I think it helps shape time. So yeah, I love it, Paul. I think you're spot on. Just you gotta get in there. You gotta get in
Yeah,
there. You gotta see how it's evolving fast, and we need to keep up.
yeah, brilliant. Well, thank you very much for your amazing insight. It's been very, very intriguing and it's lovely for me to get sort of the US perspective where I'm in
Mm.
my little London bubble a lot of the time now. So thank you for your time
All
and
right.
thank you for joining
Thank you,
us.
Paul. Appreciate it. Have a great day.